look like, what is the theory, and what is the purpose of it. I will talk about that as well, but I will try to show it in a real environment. So please, I hope, and you can pray with me to the demo gods. I hope it will be okay. Let's see. But first of all, let me introduce myself. Michael, I'm an MVP. I'm also a co-founder of a company named Into Success. This is a company focusing on Microsoft Teams, user adoption, change management. It's also the reason why I love shared channels, because shared channels is one huge topic when you talk about user adoption, how to change the work with Microsoft Teams, with guests, with external parties, and this is a huge topic. You can find me on Twitter, on LinkedIn. I do have, unfortunately, I think it's unfortunate for this audience, but a German-speaking podcast. If you're familiar with German, happy to join. Otherwise, you can just follow and give us some up number. I haven't said it. And yeah, happy to connect, so feel free. And because I do have a demo-heavy session, I will start with a demo right away. Afterwards, I do have some small points where you can maybe have or you may have something you can pick up. So first of all, as you already heard or already know, we do have different scenarios for shared channels. We do have the internal sharing and we do have the external sharing, and both capabilities are slightly different, not from a user perspective, but definitely from the administrative perspective. So I would like to start with you to go into the settings, which is necessary for everything with the Teams Admin Center. And then we go to the Azure Active Directory configuration for the external parties. So let's go. And let's see if I can find the right tenant. Oh, let me put it this way. Okay, so the first one. To bring this feature to your users, right now you have to put the users into the public preview. So you have to enable public preview, and as the name should bring it to you or explain it to you, it's not planned or not the best way for all users. So they should have the option, so you can select it on the client. I will show it in a couple of seconds, actually minutes. And on the other hand, it should not enable public preview for all users. This is a stage where Microsoft is in a pre-rollout phase, and Microsoft will maybe change something in the backend, maybe pull out the features and redesign something. So that's important to understand. Right now, this is the stage where you can find shared channels. Let's talk about this public preview. So when you want to enable public preview, you have to do it in a Teams update policy, because it's a kind of update your features, and the default settings are following the Office preview. To enable the preview features, just go to enable. It's pretty straightforward. And in this tenant, I just have one policy here. We are a bunch of consultants who like to play with everything around. So do your own policy for your test users and let they try, and for user adoption is important, ask for feedback. Get your feedback about this. The next one is, there should be the option to use shared channels, and this is not enabled by default, I think. The Teams settings, oh, sorry. Teams policies can help here, because the Teams policies give you, as you may already know, the option to enable private channels and shared channels. So this new button here on the left side is to allow these options to your users. So you have to activate 2 different points, shared channels and on the team side, and you have to give the users the option with a public preview until July or August this year. And then you're good to go. There are some special points for the external sharing, which you should consider for your teams as well. So if you do not allow sharing at all for your team, it's not working. You should be able to invite guests for the team. If this is disabled on a group level, it's not working at all. So keep that in your mind, but this is nothing special during this configuration. So we have done everything on the Microsoft Teams level. And with this option, we can go for a channel. I promised I will start with the preview mode. If you're not familiar with that, and oh yeah, it's in this corner, that's perfect. Under the ellipse and then about, you find the public preview, activate it, and you have a kind of restart of the client. And then you have more options, some changed layouts in the meetings, and also the chat channels. If it's not enabled, you will not see any chat channel options here. The rest is pretty straightforward. You do have create a channel, and there's a new option, chat channels. So by selecting this option, you do have the option to opt in all members of your team. To understand this, if you select this option, you don't have to manage any additional permissions. If you unselect this option, you will have the same situation with private channels. You have to add all the people manually. So I don't want to share it here. And so let's go. Drum roll. No, it's working. And that's it. You already heard in a session from Michael, this is a new SharePoint site. This is, I wouldn't say it's the same, but it's pretty similar to the private channel. So it's just per permissions in SharePoint. So there are some limitations. I will talk about this as well, just to be safe that you are familiar with that. And now you can share it internally. Let's go for my colleague. And you see, I got the name, I got the picture, everything is good. I just got the whole account. Everything is working because it's an internal user. So I can go right away, change the permissions. If I need something to change here, let's go for an order, and that's it. And now, this channel is shared with the user. I will not show the opposite. I will show it with the external party in a couple of minutes. It will be the same. But for now, that's it. That's pretty straightforward. And then, on the other hand, you have the team name and the chat channel, and you can access the data in this channel. The use case, of course, if you have data you want to share with a specific group of people, then you can share it like this. You can add it to a team, yes, and you can edit this channel to a team you may own. It's really straightforward for the team you own. It's just adding the channel. Let's go for for that one. And go for that one. And here you see this channel is included. It has a brilliant, good icon to understand this is a shared channel. And you can access it so good, so quick and easy. And the owner can configure whatever necessary for the channel. In my case, on my tenant, I just have less teams I'm not the owner of. So it's not easy to show here, but with the external tenant. And it will be kind of similar. Kind of, you will understand why it's a kind of. What happens when you invite a team? You send it to the team owner, and the team owner has to decide which tenant is the right team. And you have to confirm this was a team where you have planned it. We will see it in a couple of minutes. So internal sharing is pretty straightforward. You don't have any dependencies, just this small teams settings. And now let's go into the let's go here. Let's go into the Azure Id Settings. As you have already heard from Michelle, you have to put it, you have to establish a mutual trust. So you have to establish a connection between two different tenants. That implicates you have to communicate with another admin. That's something you should be aware of from your process. There's nothing a user can just request and you just click on OK and everything is working. No, you have to start with talking to other tenant admins. You have to clarify your process. You have to clarify your requirements. We will see the point of requirements in a couple of minutes as well. And you have to clarify the whole process when you get a request. Of course, someone else can come up and ask your CXO, hey, we can work together in a single channel. And he said, enable it now. I need it in 3 p.m. And this is an idea to set up the expectation. Talk about this. Make it transparent to your users. User adoption is the key. From the administrative perspective, go for Azure Active Directory, go to external identities, and you, as you have already heard, this option is next to, come on, B2B, Azure AD B2B should be there. Under the cross-tenant, okay. Configuration. Just give me a second. What you do have is the default setting, the default settings. And as mentioned from Michelle earlier, Azure B2B is enabled to get some guest accounts. Azure Active Directory B2B Connect is disabled by default. You can change it, but I wouldn't suggest this. And you will understand in a couple of seconds why. So, under the organizational settings, you can see the organizational or the organization which is currently established. And one of the biggest learnings when you work with the cloud, but I think you are familiar with that, if you want to change something, bring some time until it works. Otherwise, you will be frustrated. And I was talking about, please don't allow any connection just because you can. Because this field is really powerful. This field is not, at this point, not so limiting that you may have to insert an actual tenant ID. You can just type in a domain, whatever you want. And you get the tenant ID. So when you start to work with that, you allow any incoming communication by default. It's maybe not what you're looking for when you start with the configuration. Of course, you have to establish the trust as well, so you still have one step, but it's not the granular setting you may are looking for. So keep that on your domain level and on the tenant level from your partner. And yeah. After that, you just got the configuration here, and you are able to set up inbound and outbound rules. Inbound, of course, to specify who can bring some shared channels into your environment. That's important to, maybe clarify your situation. If you want to have shared channels coming into your tenant, by the way, you will accept the all the policies coming from the other tenant. You don't have any e-discovery capabilities on your tenant. You don't have any compliance settings on your tenant affecting on this channel. You have to consider, is this something I would like to have for this partner tenant? And of course, outbound, yes. This is something you would like to configure, and let's start with outbound. That's the most common part here. Sorry. Outbound. And let me pull it over here. You do have the collaboration and direct connect. And the direct connect is what we are looking for. When you say just the default settings, it will be lost because the default setting is blocking everything. No? So you go back and set up whatever you need. And you do have two different layers here, users and groups. For the users, you can allow it or block this. And you do have some options to select specific users. So you can start, for example, with a specific scenario where you have a dedicated partner, a dedicated group of people that you will work with, and you can just add these people on your side to allow the communication outside of your company and reduce it, for example, for just your CXO talking to BMW, oh, I should say Mercedes here, right? To Mercedes, whatever, as a talking to a Mercedes environment. And so this is something you can clarify to also from your process perspective, but expectation, security is is important here. When you talk about security, may not the same person responsible for security, Azure Active Directory and Teams. Maybe you are, then you have a huge responsibility. Congratulations. And then you are able to set up it for a specific user or a group of users. And the same is for applications. You can set up here some applications you will trust. We take a look here at the application for Microsoft Office 365. Yes, the cloud applications. Clarify what is your need. It's my advice. So if you have any limitations, or you don't want to have any limitations here, because you may are not in the position to change this as quick as a user gets an issue, then you have to clarify and say, okay, is it a security risk? Is it something we can lose data? Or is it something we will allow and bring it to the other, allow external users to access applications? So, and in this tenant, I missed something. So let me just quick set up. Yeah, here. Just set up or go into the right settings here, because hold on a second. I'm a bit confused. Just give me a second. Oh, there it is. I was just looking on the wrong page. Apologies. I mixed that up. It is on the incoming section, and yes, that's a point where it makes definitely sense, because on the incoming section, you do have, and maybe you should, configure some trusts. What does it mean? By default, you just activate it, and the incoming user is trying to accessing your data. Teams and SharePoint behind that. And sometimes you do have some conditional access policies, for example. You may have some restrictions who can access different applications. And that's the point where you get these options coming in. The first of all is you will enforce that someone is signed in with a valid MFA clarification. You have to tick the first box here. Unfortunately, the initial idea from my side, let me maybe put it this way. The initial idea from my side was, if I uncheck this box, someone has to provide me a second factor. It's not so easy to get a second factor on my environment if this is not my account. So they are not underlying my settings for the MFA security. So I said, okay, please, I trust your MFA, but you have to provide MFA on your tenant. On the second one is trust compliant devices. We just recently enabled the policy on our side, which is showing up, letting non-compliant devices outside of our environment. So if you have some policies in conditional access like this, you may have an issue with shared channels on the upper side. Because we enforce access to our environment should be from a compliant device only, of course with MFA, compliant. It also estimates that our Azure Active Directory can validate the compliance state of the external party. And of course, if this device is not in our, you got the idea, right? So we have to trust the other party to say this is a compliant device or not. Okay. And in my case, I haven't had the situation with Azure Active Directory joint devices, but I estimate it's the same situation. So, without these settings, you will see in the sign-in logs an interruption, failure with the sign-in. That also means if you have some trouble to set up the connection, go to the sign-in logs and verify what the reason is. The sign-in logs from Azure Active Directory will tell you right away. Okay. And that's it. You have to set up this for both environments. And then you go for your channel. Oh, sorry. And you can share it with a specific person. I love it. I got at least 5 gray hairs with it during the last 2 hours because of this issue, and it was fine. And anyway, let me do it like a good user. I just restart. In this case, I reload. Let me try it again. Okay, great to see the demo. Now let's go for the other side. Maybe that's something. I love it.
Everybody give Michael a cheer and a round of applause while he's sorting this out. Come on. It's hard up there. Everybody knows it's hard up there. Give him a round of applause. Come on, Michael, you've got this.
And now for the Azure Active Directory. That's the reason why it's not working. So let's see if it goes. Okay, that's the first one. It just took 2 hours to apply this policy. And let's see. That's the easy part. At least I think so. Hooray! Thank you. I think this sharing was very helpful. Okay. Now we invite my external counterpart here. And because I've sent this invite to the single person, this person got a notification which is just telling, hey, it's just telling you got a shared channel shared with you. And now I still have to give some permissions. Good. I'm on the other environment. That's easy. That's really easy. The good point here is I do see the tenant, I do see the team, but I just see the shared channel. And this is internally exactly the same as externally exactly the same. If you just share it with a single person, this person will see this channel channel with the name of the tenant. And of course, you can share the same channel with multiple tenants. So if you want to share your channel with multiple organizations, just go ahead and do whatever fits for the scenario. Now let's talk about, hold on a second. I would like to invite a team. As mentioned before, I would like to invite a team, but I sent the invite to a team owner. Sorry. Thumbs up, that's good. Takes a bit. Do you know this if you are just waiting for something because you're doing a demo, training, whatever, and it's not showing up? Or you're waiting for the confirmation with its second factor, you're waiting for the SMS and it's not coming, it's not. Feels a little bit like that. Okay. Maybe I've just overseen the activity ping here, but I got the notification. And this notification is slightly different, as you see, because I do have an overview about this channel should be shared with a team on your side. And I can accept or decline at all for this channel. So let me accept here. And after that, I can decide which team, where I'm the owner of, is the right team for this. Let's go for playground. And let me add this here. On the receiving side, you have to be the owner of the team. Otherwise, you don't have the permissions to change the team, add anything, of course. And yep, it's not working here. I love it. Not sure if it's still in validating. Okay. Contact your admin. Okay, I will do afterwards. Let me go for this one as well. As I said, it's in public preview. I may have set up the permissions not properly. There's.
Did you have a guest in the team that you were adding? Is that what you're making it about?
The question is there a guest in the team? And that could, yeah, maybe. I have to double check the team actually. Okay, that could be the reason. I'm not sure about this team. That's a good point. Thank you for that. What I've got is, I got the new status, because now I got the question, which team should be the target? And I assigned it to a team. But on the other side, it has to be confirmed that this is the right team. I love my demos. What I expect is seeing a request on the other tenant again. It's maybe the same issue with the SMS. Because the source tenant has to confirm that this is the right team. So you are sending out the request to a team owner, and you want to validate that this is for this planned team and not for maybe accidentally another team. And you have to communicate. That's the part with the user adoption again. You have to communicate both directions. This time it's not the admin part, but it's the actual owner part. So the owners of each team has to communicate. If it's a team member, they have to communicate this part as well. So there are some interactions really needed on this, on both sides. I don't know if it's coming up here.
If you go to manage channel and then hit the drop down, where it says channel, it's just maybe not finding it.
I just got trolled from the activity feed. Once again, thank you very much. And yes, I can see the team here, the organization, how many members, and the type of. So I do have some different scenarios to validate. Say approve, and this is, I don't want to wait for this one. Here in this team. Okay. So far, so here it is. Second one. Now it is. You can see it as an external, but you see most of all it's it was confusing me. This is the internal channel I've created before. Apologize. You can see this in your team. You can see this pretty good that it's not on an internal environment. And yeah, the last one is you can, I will share the slides, you can read it later. You just have to keep in mind, if you share the channel, all your rules on a pretty basic level, all your rules will apply. If you receive the channel, all rules from the other tenant will apply. So the data are still on your tenant. Or even if you receive the channel, it is on the other side. Just a quick one, just to ensure you cannot convert it. You cannot convert an existing channel. You have to create a new one because of the underlying infrastructure behind that. And yes, Planner is not possible on a shared channel as well. It will be, Microsoft stated this in an article, but they haven't told anyone the timeline for this. So it is planned, hopefully. And because you're getting the slides, I just created a decision tree when to create which kind of channel. I will share this afterwards. It is on a GitHub repository. You can just use it. And if you find any other ideas, if you may find some other scenarios, please contact me. It's just me thinking about how can I get the right channel for the right use case. I will explain this in a session tomorrow during lunch. It's a virtual session. So there you can get more details also for the idea behind the different points here. Okay. And last but not least, and then I come to Q&A. Yeah, take your time. Azure Active Directory, Teams policies, all the stuff takes time. Don't be in a hurry, don't be, nervous is maybe the best word. Just give it time. Set up your settings, plan for this, not just try and say, oh my God, I overshared something. Also, if the plan is to remove all the guest accounts on your environment, please plan this. Do the communication with the other admin, do the communication with your users, plan some extra user adoption sessions. It's not as easy as you may think about. Just go ahead and release it is not the best way, definitely not. It sounds like a small feature, but it's really, really handy, but it's really powerful and it can be misused as well. So please, 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 user adoption. Conditional access could be something which points you to an error message, also cloud app security. So verify your settings. If you find some issues, check your logs. And yeah. Any questions?
So we have a B2B guest access. We can work with Azure organizations.
Yeah.
Some pretty big organizations like Google, Remakes. Do they even have an Azure tenant? Is this possible?
So the question was, if there is an organization using Google or a non-Azure Active Directory authentication method, can we use it for shared channels? The answer is no. That's the easiest one.
If I can just interject, we are starting to run a little long on time. If anybody's got any other questions for Michael, can I just suggest that you kind of grab him straight afterwards. Once again, thank you so much for stepping in at such short notice, Michael. Can we get an enormous round of applause?
Thank you.
Yeah! Woo!
Thank you.
Right, there are cupcakes as well.
Oh,
If
yeah.
you want cupcakes, take the cupcakes. So, yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Enjoy your next sessions. Didn't get any swag.
Thank you.